Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy GrandmastaJ, and we are back with another episode of Why Nobody Plays, featuring Millia. Now here's the thing, right? Now I haven't actually dropped a Why Nobody Plays in about 2 months because right after I made that series, they actually patched the game entirely and a lot of different things changed, including buffing a lot of weaker characters. Now Millia wasn't included in these changes, but she was changed, or at least affected, by some of the system mechanics that changed as well. So I kind of wanted to wait a while to see where things would place, which characters that were originally on my list of making videos about, if they would come off the list, if they were further on the list, if other characters were on the list. And now I feel like we're in a comfortable place where we can actually talk about this stuff. Now, of course, this is with a big disclaimer. It is October 5th right now, right? In literally like the end of this month, there's going to be a massive patch which is supposed to change a lot of crap, including the introduction of Dizzy. So maybe this list is going to be outdated by then. Hopefully, for all the Millia players, you better hope so, because Millia's not looking too hot right now. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. And of course, before we get into any of the weaknesses of this character, let's go over her strengths. Now, why the heck would you want to play Millia? Well, number one is, first of all, she might be your waifu. But number two is that she is a character that has a very strong mix-up game. So if you're into like non-interactions with your opponent after hitting them, right, which is the big keyword here, spoiler alert, then Millia is the character for you. Now, quite frankly, I can make a video about every single kind of mix-up in the game that Millia has, but just to be frank, as soon as she interacts with you, right, even something as simple as this with meter, right, as soon as she interacts with you, you are forced to guess up, down, left, right, you know, throw, non-throw, like shimmy, stuff like that. Like, she is a character that is definitely super terrifying when she's in your face. She's also a character with very great movement. She has one of the fastest dashes in the game. I think she's tied with Chip, or if not, just behind Chip. She has 3 air movement options, so she can do like a jump and a double dash, or a double jump into a dash. She has turbo fall, which allows her to just completely shoot down her air momentum. So for example, if I'm like here, right, I can just shoot straight down to the ground. And she also has Calpul on top of it, which is kind of like, it's kind of like the replacement for pin, if you guys knew what the frick pin was. Like, it's a whole thing. But yeah, so she has a lot of movement options going for her. Also, due to her high speed, she's actually super good at whiff punishing people. Hold on now. There we go. She's actually super good at whiff punishing people, and the reward that she gets off of whiff punishing people is a 50-50. Another thing that's really good about her is she actually has a 4-frame jab. Now, this was not always the case. She actually used to have, one of her slowest buttons used to be, her fastest button used to be 6 frames, as a matter of fact. I remember this distinctly because Nago had a setup where if you had a 6-frame jab or slower, you literally could not stop him from command grabbing you in certain situations, which was very funny. And she was one of those characters to fight despite her being super fast. And to top it all off, she actually has one of the better reversals. This actually comes out in 8 frames, 8 plus 1 frame, whatever the frick that means. But it's on one of the faster sides, so she's able to beat like certain frame jumps and stuff, or I said frame jumps, able to beat certain save jumps, and she's able to get out of pressure like relatively okay with meter. All that being said, if you enjoy the character, there's actually nothing wrong with her. She's actually in a pretty okay spot right now in terms of character strength. We're gonna get into why that's kind of not really the case as well. But if you enjoy the character, then you really enjoy the character. She's actually the strongest she ever has been. They just gave her a new move. I actually don't know what the frick the input for this new move is. There it is. They actually gave her this new move, which actually allows her to be pretty tricky, especially like in certain situations where throwing her was kind of the best option. And it also does like impact her damage in certain mix-ups and stuff like that. It's super good. So please do not let this video deter you from playing Millia. Millia is an okay character, okay? With that being said, let's talk about why she sucks, all right? Well, reason number one, and this is gonna be a no-duh moment, right? But reason number one as to why Millia kind of sucks is because, hold on a second. There we go. Is because she dies very easily, okay? And this is kind of a big deal in Guilty Gear. We are back to everybody's favorite, the effective health chart. Millia is all the way down here, okay? She is the 3rd, technically the 2nd worst, lowest health character in the game. Only 2 points ahead of Chip, and a whopping, what is that, quick math, 21 points behind Zato. If you're lucky, she dies in 3 hits, right? Big asterisk on if you're lucky. If not, most of the time she will die in like 2 hits, right? 1 hit to actually lock her down, the next hit to kill her. Or if you're very, very unlucky and you're blocking and getting that risk gauge cranked pretty high, which in this current meta is not that hard to do, she dies in 1 hit. So towards the end of season 3, so 3.5, this actually wasn't that big of a deal, right? Because Millia was extremely good at, once she got the hit, she would be able to run her offense very, very effectively, basically making it so that it was a 1-player game, right? Characters that can run a 1-player game should die very easily, because that is kind of your reward for getting out of the infinite Tsukiyomi that Millia can put you into. But then they did something else. So this nerf right here, the nerf to Wild Assault's breaking the wall, actually affected Millia pretty darn heavily, right? See, the thing is that Millia back in the day, she'd be able to get a knockdown, right? Or basically land a hit, get you to the wall, do Wild Assault, and she would be able to, big thing, retain her meter to be able to run up and do, she used to do like this bad moon bull crap, right? And it was very, very hard to to block. Even if you blocked the bad moon, right, then you had to deal with a bunch of other, it was really, really messed up. The thing is though, is that because they reverted back that wall change, I mean, not even reverted, they just changed it. Because of that, Millia now has to use meter or reset back to neutral, both of which is not that good for her. See, now in order to actually score a knockdown, she would actually have to go into super, and then she'd be able to kind of run up and do her thing. But the thing is that, right, she kind of is forcing more interaction than there needs to be, which allows the opponent to be able to retaliate in a way that can just end the game for her. A character that you can actually compare her to the most is actually a character like Chip, right? Where you would think, oh, this character also, right, has very good air movement options, is also very fast, and also dies very quickly, right? They're kind of the same, but there's a reason why Chip is higher on the tier list and Millia is not. I mean, outside of even talking about the whole like meterless reversal thing, Chip actually is super good at running his offense without meter, building meter, and being safe while doing it. See, if we look at Chip's effective range, right, outside of close slash range, right, if Chip is here, he's able to do things like summon clone, he's able to do things like have a meterless cross up, he has a command grab, right? There's a lot of things that you need to look out for when you're actually defending against Chip, even when he doesn't have meter. The problem with Millia is that outside of her doing close slash, right, because after close slash, she can do stuff like this, right, where she can do this, but that's reactable, right? She can do stuff like this, but that's unsafe. She can do stuff like this, but that's, you know, that's unsafe, right? Even if she does this, without meter, it's all just pretty unsafe. And if you notice, Millia's optimal range is actually in close slash range. And that's kind of a big deal because Chip can operate off of his far slash, right? Chip doing far slash, he can still go into his Rekkas, which is arguably like the thing that makes him the most scary, but it's like at a very, very far distance. The reason why having close slash as her most optimal pressure tool is a bad thing, especially for Millia, is because of situations like this. Check this out, right? Oh, hold on. Look at that. Nago, and I think other big body characters, well, I'm pretty sure other big body characters, have a much more effective throw range, which if you're trying to fight a character that's super, super fast, using your fastest available option is going to be what you're going for the most. And for like Nago, Gold Lewis, that's going to be their throw. It's 2 frames, right? If they have a farther throw range than Millia is kind of a little scared to be this close to them, especially since a character like Nago can do so much. Hold up. I ain't got meter. Especially since a character like Nago with meter is able to do so much gosh darn damage to her, right? And get a wall break or whatever the case may be. That did half of her health. That wasn't even that optimal, right? And God forbid he gets her in the corner, right? He now is starting to run his offense. Ultimately, Millia without meter, or Millia at a far enough range, is really not that scary, which is why oftentimes you'll see Millia players go for something like this, because honestly, that's all they really have. And the dangers with that is that if your opponent is aware of what you're really going to be doing, or what you want to do, right, they can just do things like this. Oh, frick. Maybe Millia is Gollum. Hold on now. Wait, Millia is OD. Never mind. Never mind, Millia Doomers. Just kidding, this character sucks. Me as a defender, if I know Millia's in front of my face, she doesn't have meter, she has to go for something pretty risky. Whereas a character similar to her, similar health, similar speed, similar sort of like play style, Chip, doesn't have to do that kind of stuff. He can play at that mid-range. He can reset his pressure relatively safely, right? Or at least force me as the defender to have to react to multiple tools in his arsenal. For Millia, she doesn't really force you to react to that much stuff. The worst she can really do is throw you, which throw, you can freaking tech that, right? Like, it's not even that scary. You gotta tell when she's kind of running up on you and stuff like that. Now, the meter build thing wouldn't be that big of an issue if Millia built meter, okay? Now, the thing is about Millia is that she doesn't really build meter that fast, right? Yeah, she could be doing a lot of running around, but unless she actually interacts with her opponent, she's not really going to build that much meter. Take these two characters, for example, right? Both of them have Blue Wild Assault, and both of them kind of play this mix-up style game. Now, check this out for Elfelt, right? Elfelt, check out this block string. That is an Elfelt block string. Now, of course, it's not an optimal but Elfelt block string. But as you can see, I was able to get a safe ender from a mix-up from Blue Wild Assault and still gain, like, what is that, like 35 meter, right? And in the middle of that, I was still able to run some offense, or at least run a mix-up that my opponent had to look out for. Let's take a similar situation with Millia. So, again, I'm not really a Millia player, but that's like a comparable block string in the same vein. But there's a big issue with it. Without meter, I was not able to safely do things like this, right? Hold on. Safely do things like this, or something like this, because if either of those two things got blocked, I would get freaking destroyed. Now, of course, I know I could do stuff like this turbo fold nonsense, right? Where it's like, oh, frick, it might be a little fucking goofy woofy, but like, honestly, like, you can get thrown there. Check this out. Oh, I got thrown. Oh, I got thrown. Like, that's not a real mix. Oh, I got thrown. Oh, I got thrown. You guys get the point. I'll be talking more about her Wild Assault later, but basically, long story short, she doesn't really build that much meter, and therefore her offense without meter is not super scary, or it's kind of scary, but there's so much counterplay to it that it forces Millia to take so much more risk than a character like Chip would. The biggest issue with Millia is not that she's a bad character. She's just a character that is highly prone to human error. What do I mean by that? Taking it back to the character select screen, Millia has two groups of natural predators, okay? Number one group is characters who have big health and high damage. These characters include Johnny, although his damage is not that high, but it is high on Millia. Nago, Soul, May. You have characters like Slayer, Gold Lewis, Potemkin, Leo, Anji, and also Abba. I forgot about Abba. The next category of natural predator are characters that can actually chase her down. These include characters like Jacko, Chip, Kai, Eno, Happy Chaos, Elfelt, Bridget, Geo. Geo's kind of like both. Ramathal, even to an extent Bikin. So if you noticed, I named about 20 characters out of the cast of 28 characters. That's not super great. Now, even those last 9 characters that I didn't mention, for example, characters like Axel and Asuka, and even like Bedman, right, or Zato, like, yeah, Millia has a direct advantage over those characters for a myriad of reasons, but it's kind of a similar situation where they really just have to play relatively defensively, and then Millia, like, they just have to win the battle of attrition, right? If they hit each other equally, Millia's gonna lose. Here's the thing, in a vacuum, right? If we're just strictly talking about stats, Millia is kind of a top 10 character, kind of, like big air quotes. But, like, that's the thing, it's just a big kind of. On paper, Nago shouldn't be able to touch her. On paper, freaking Slayer shouldn't be able to touch her. On paper, Gold Lewis shouldn't be able to touch her. Potemkin shouldn't be able to touch her. But it doesn't matter, right? Millia has to hit them 5, 10, freaking, honestly, like 10. If they're still alive after 10, that's kind of crazy. 5 to 10 times, while they only really have to hit her like twice, and that's it. Millia has to be perfect for 30 to 45 seconds of the entire game, while they only need to have one perfect 5 seconds. Now, this takes me to what I think is the biggest issue with Millia, hands down. I'm not even talking about her damage now, all right? And I kind of touched on it with the Wild Assault thing, but Millia does not win. Listen to me now. Listen to me very clearly. Millia does not win by making you block. I know what you might be thinking. That doesn't make any sense. Millia, you freaking... No, Millia does not win by making you block. Millia wins by hitting you, and that is a big difference. A character like Jacko wins by making you block. A character like Chip wins by making you block. A character like May wins by making you block. If Millia makes you block, right? She doesn't have meter, right? Even if she has meter, she's in freaking far slash range, right? Anywhere beyond point blank range, she is not that scary. The biggest way I can describe this is by talking about her Wild Assault. They gave Millia a blue Wild Assault, and blue Wild Assaults are usually given to characters that are known as two-step characters, right? Characters like Jacko, where she has to plant a minion to get started. A character like Asuka, where she needs to draw cards to get started. A character like Baiken, where she needs to get Tether on to get started. If you, I'm gonna just show you, both these characters with no meter, even with meter, right? They cannot combo into their blue Wild Assault or true block string into their blue Wild Assault. Characters like Jacko, characters like Happy Chaos, they can because they're kind of privileged, right? Asuka can as well. Look at the baby, look at her little tummy. And so because she can't really like have a safe way of getting into it, making your opponent block Wild Assault should be a big deal. For example, for Baiken, right? Making them block this is a really big deal because she's able to get Tether on. And once she gets Tether on, she's now able to run mix-ups like, is she going to go for a throw, which she's able to now combo off of, right? And look at how much damage that freaking did. Or she can do things like some frame traps and, you know, force your opponent to still be in your face because of Tether. I went over this before already, but if Millia makes you block this, she can't throw a fucking disc on you, man. Like, she can't. In fact, even if she could, it freaking whiffed because of the freaking distance, right? She can't do... If she makes you block that, she can't fucking do anything unless she already has a meter as well. So not only do I need to waste half of my burst gauge in order to just put you in a guard crush situation, I now have to use another 50 bar to actually convert off of my 50-50 without dying. What the frick, man? I will say it again. Millia does not win by making you block. Millia wins by hitting you. She wins when she does this to you. That's when she wins. That's when she is in a winning position. Now, yes, she's able to do that very easily because of the aforementioned tools, but if she doesn't have resources, if she's down on resources, right? If she's fighting a big body character, right? If she is fighting a character that's able to chase her, and she needs to like clutch up, right? I do this, right? My opponent has a chance to destroy me, right? They have a chance to destroy me. Not only that, right? Hold on now. Stay with me, camera guy. Stay with me for this one, okay? Not only that, but her win condition has a gap in it. It has a gap. Her win condition has a gap. Like, oh, what the frick? If you know Millia's gonna run at you and do fucking like, you can just react for the killer. You can kill her. You can just kill her, bro. You know how much damage she's gonna do. She's gonna die, bro. She's gonna die. So, ultimately, I don't know how we can make Millia better. I really don't. I don't know what kind of changes they're going to make in season 4 because honestly, she's not even a bad character. She's just a character that has certain issues, right? And it's not necessarily her fault. It's kind of the issues of the surrounding characters that are just her natural predators, right? She just doesn't do that much damage, which she always hasn't, right? She just is not that scary in your face, right? Without meter, which that's something that's new. Before, she was very, very scary. When throws were one frame, she was very, very terrifying, right? But now that's just not the case anymore, right? We can react to certain things that she does. Everything she does is fairly reactable. She doesn't have like insane hard to react to cross-ups like Chip does. She doesn't have command grabs like Chip does. She doesn't have a safe way to reset her pressure. Even Blue Wild Assault, you can either reversal through it, backdash it, or even throw her on reaction. When she gets started, right? When she's actually moving and grooving and doing her thing, yeah, it's fairly scary. But if you take a look at a lot of the Millia players, a lot of them are making some fairly risky plays because they kind of have to with this character. And to have to make risky plays, for example, a character like Chip, he can really just sit back and wait for you to whiff a button because he's just that good, that fast. And then once he gets you blocking his stuff, he can just run Vortex, right? Millia can't really do that. She's not as fast as Chip. Her buttons don't go as far as Chip. She's not able to convert into something as consistently as Chip does. And I know I'm comparing her to Chip a lot, but honestly, that's the character you would compare her to. Oh, look at the little Tobies. That's the character that you would compare her to because they have a very similar, like, or at least they're in the similar vein of play style, right? In the same way, I think she's good enough that if you over buff her, she might be a really, really big problem. And maybe, you know, that's fine, reparations and all that. Maybe that's okay, all right? Right now, we're dealing with worse things, if you know what I'm saying. But, I'm curious to see what they'll do in Season 4. Quite frankly, I don't have the answers, and I'm glad that I don't have to come up with those answers. So, good luck to you fellas in Season 4. I will be there playing the game. So, that's it. That's why nobody plays Millia. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll see y'all the next one. Peace.